I am so excited to share that EstateKit launched a brand new feature that brings the experience for the legal roles in your estate completely to life. That means when you invite someone to act as your executor, your power of attorney for property, your power of attorney for personal care, and so on, when those individuals log in to the EstateKit, they will see a completely personalized dashboard. That dashboard shows them what role they've been asked to take on, what it's all about, the types of responsibilities they'll need to do when that role gets activated. For Emily, as the user of EstateKit, here's my dashboard and what I've completed so far. As well, you can see what's up next as my next task. Now, if I click over to the top right of the screen and click this button, it shows me other estates that I've been given access to. For today, I'm going to click on my spouse's estate, David Williams. So for David Williams's estate, I have been asked to play 4 key roles. These include acting as a life status verifier, as well as acting as executor, power of attorney for property, and power of attorney for personal care. So if there was ever a situation where David became incapable of making personal care decisions, the power of attorney for personal care is the role that I would need to prepare for. So first and foremost, before that scenario happens, I have an opportunity to learn more about what that role means. Here is an explanation of what's included in the role, how it's referred to across different provinces in Canada, and different things that are important to know in advance. Now, ahead of time, I have an opportunity to start working with David to make sure that I actually understand what his wishes and instructions would be so I can fulfill that role to the best of my ability. Here is a list of all of the things I can do to prepare in advance. Once I complete them, I can mark them as complete and I can keep going. Additionally, if you click on this, you'll see what you're able to access once the role becomes active. So for now, I have not been given access to these sections, but what it tells me is the type of information I will have access to in the future and why I will need it. So now you've done the hard part of preparing all of the information that your loved ones and these key roles will need in order to be able to access your information. What we're doing now is making it so much easier for each of these legal roles to understand exactly what they're meant to be doing, in what order, and how they could best leverage the information you've provided to get through this very incredibly important task. Next, if we click on See the Full Roadmap, we're able to see all of the detailed things that we will need to do once the role becomes active. All of these are organized into order of priority and urgency. So the first 48 hours, make sure that I'm able to do all of these things below. Next, over the next 2 weeks, how the role will change and what my key priorities will be at that time. And over time, what ongoing or wind down responsibilities are related to this role. If we return, we're able to see in this scenario, I'm the first one that's been given access to David's future key roles. However, once others are named, I'll have access to their information and contact so that I can communicate clearly with his entire care team. Now let's talk about how sharing and permissions work in EstateKit. There are 2 ways to give someone access. You could do so on your dashboard under Who Has Access and invite someone. Alternatively, you can go to your vault in the left-hand navigation menu and click on Sharing and Permissions. Here, you'll see that I've already given David Williams access to my EstateKit, and now we're going to go through the flow of giving access to Alice Carter, one of my children. I click Set Up Access, and I'm given the choice of how and what information Alice should have instructions to. So on this first page, it's about time horizon. Do I want Alice to have access today? Do I want her only to have access upon incapacity or upon my passing? For the purposes of today, I'm going to set all 3 and we can walk through the differences. Next, we're asked if Alice is playing a legal role in my estate. The reason that this is relevant is that there is a minimum amount of access that legal roles like power of attorney or executor need in order to truly fulfill their duty on your behalf. And so we have preset those roles with their minimum permissions so that you will easily be able to turn those roles on. So for the purposes of today, Alice is set as my backup, as my alternate executor for power of attorney for personal care, as well as my executor. Here, I'm shown at a high level what sections that gives access to. So for executor, this is the column on the right. This is at my passing, what access Alice will have access to. Here is shown at incapacity. And what you see is that actually she's been given during incapacity for power of attorney for personal care some access, but not complete access. So if I want to add, view, or edit access to her at that time, I can do so on a category basis, or I could drill down and do it individually for the type of information I want to share. So I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to say, actually, I'd like her help in managing not just my medical care decisions, but also within my loved ones. Today, I would like some help managing with my pets. So I'm going to give view access so that she has the ability to step in and house sit for me for any of my animals. We make it really clear that there are certain information that's highly sensitive. So that includes things like passwords, access information to your home, to your safe, any firearms that you might hold, and that type of sensitive access is carved out. Additionally, there's other sensitive information that really only becomes relevant upon your passing. That can include things like your will, any beneficiary data that you've included, and your overall estate plan. For many people, that's information they want to provide access to early so that they can work with their professionals or their family members to plan for it. And for others, they would like to keep that information private until their passing. So what we do here is that we give you the ability to separately decide what information you want to give access to and when. This is a summary of what Alice will have access to at each stage. And now if I hit save and send, the email will go out to her inviting her to these roles. Now, we're going to discuss a life status changes. This is one of the most important roles within a estate kit. This is the person that's asked to confirm if something happened in your life, that what has changed in terms of your capacity or if you've passed away. They're not asked to diagnose anything. Instead, they're only asked to report a status change. So how do we set up a life status verifier? You'll see up next on my dashboard is set up status verifiers. Alternatively, we can go to key contacts and we can see life status verifiers there. So what happens is that if you're acting as a life status verifier for someone else, you log into Estate Kit and on the dashboard, you'll see a button that reads report status change. So I'm going to switch back to David Williams' estate where I've been asked to act as a life status verifier. And here I'm going to click the button that says report status change. When I click on it, it takes me to a screen that asks me to confirm whether the person I am acting for is currently incapable of managing property or personal care decisions or both based on objective circumstances. These can include a formal medical determination by a licensed physician or clear and observable facts. For instance, if they're unconscious or medically unresponsive. If that's the case, you would click on the respective button that matches the person's current capacity. Additionally, if they were to pass away, you would notify it here. What you're then asked to do is confirm that the selection above reflects your reasonable knowledge and belief regarding the person's current condition, and to make sure that you understand that once you have submitted this, it will start an unlock process for the respective roles that the estate owner has named. So in a scenario where they pass away, that would activate the executor's role, and that person's access to the private information would then turn on. Since no change has taken place today, I'm going to hit cancel and I'm going to return to the dashboard. Now, let's go back to my estate and we can see how we turn on and decide how to choose our life status verifiers. So let's set this up. I'm going to click here and I'm going to see what the process is for setting up a life status verifier. So for my own estate, I want to make sure I choose people in my life that are close enough to me that they would be aware if something changed in my life and they would be in a position to notify Estate Kit that my key legal roles would gain access. This is a critically important role for someone that you trust. So number one thing is to choose someone you trust who's close enough to you that if you became incapacitated or you passed away, this is often a spouse or partner, an adult child, a close family member, or a trusted friend. Those individuals would be reliable, reachable, and they would be willing to log in and confirm that a change in status was needed. So for the purposes of my own status verifiers, I'm going to choose my husband, David, and my 3 children, Alice, Matthew, and Thomas. Now, we've built in a protection, and this protection works as follows. It's an access delay. And the way that it works is once someone acts as a life status verifier and notifies a state kit that a change has happened to your life, there is a waiting period between when the status change is verified and when we give access, when the roles unlock that you've given access to at that life status event. Welcome to turn this on or off depending on your personal comfort level. And if you keep the access delay enabled, you can choose for how long you would like as a period of time where we would send you a notification and you would have an opportunity to override it if the life status change had been made in error. So you could choose 2 hours all the way through 48 hours. For the purposes of today, I'm going to choose 12 hours. And now I'm going to hit save. You'll see here that invitations have gone out to each of my children and my husband, the date that they were sent, and once they've been accepted, the status badge will change here so that I know that the role is already covered. While it is still going to be a huge responsibility and a large amount of work to administer anyone's estate, we are so thrilled that this will be a guided experience where you're really not alone.